Hi, Helena.
Hi, Adam.
And hi to all of our listeners. We've got a really special episode today as we come close to the end of our first season. We like to introduce ourselves at the start of every episode, and so I'm going to throw it across to you, Helena.
My name is Helena Dix. I'm an opera singer who likes to cause chaos and mischief with my high notes all around the world's leading stages. I'm a dog owner, I'm a foodie, and I love to laugh, which we've done plenty of in this podcast.
Oh, yes. And my name is Adam Miller. I'm a former opera singer turned producer, writer, and director. And Helena, you and I have worked together across so many different formats now. Now we've worked together as singers. I've produced shows that you've been in. Have I directed anything you've been in?
But I am, yeah.
And now we're podcast partners. So we've worked together in lots of different capacities. So today's episode is really just a bit of a catch up and a bit of an announce from you. With no further ado, do you want to announce any interesting news that you might have coming up?
Well, recently I was involved in a performance of La Straniera with Chelsea Opera Group, which was amazing. And I had asked them not to announce my news, but they did anyway. So I am actually moving back to Australia after 22 years of life in the UK. Now as a citizen and resident, been causing trouble and laughter here for the last 22 years. Can't believe it's been that long.
Oh my God. So you're actually a citizen. Did you do the citizenship ceremony?
I did.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I did the whole ceremony. I pledged my gratitude and allegiance to the country. I've got 3 passports, I'm a triple threat, but in the passport game. So I've got my Australian passport, my British passport, and my New Zealand passport because my father was from New Zealand. So 3 passports.
I so should have got my citizenship when I was over there. I had permanent residency and I let it lapse because I've been back in Australia for long enough now that you have to return to the UK within a certain amount of time in order to maintain your residency. And I let it lapse.
Yep.
I only realised a few years ago that I'm no longer a valid UK resident.
It's so easy to do though, like the paperwork surrounding all that stuff. Oh my God. I mean, since I've been here, I've been on so many different visas and, the student one to start with when I was at the Royal Academy and then the highly skilled under 30s or whatever, the young people's one. And then
when you had the visa to go to the USA, did you get the alien of exceptional ability?
I've had many alien of exceptional ability visas.
I love that. It's the best name for a visa. We need that everywhere.
I think I've had about 15 of those now because I've been to the States so many times to sing. Yeah.
Once, twice, 15 times an alien.
So that was the news that kind of got announced. I was hoping to keep it a little quiet, mainly because, look, it's the end of a huge chapter for me. But opera singers are global. We everyone has a home somewhere. Some people have homes in several places. But it won't alter the fact that I'll still be working internationally. I'll just be set up from a different spot.
Well, exactly. And didn't you always have the rule that you lived in the UK, but you made sure that you got back to work in Australia at least once a year?
Absolutely.
And am I right that your plan is pretty much to just reverse that so that you'll be based in Australia, but you'll be heading overseas for at least one contract a year?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So I've always tried to come home at least once a year, or my family would never forgive me. They'd throw me out of the Dix clan. But, it's time. It's time. My mum's getting a little older and, I wouldn't say that in front of her face or I'd be in trouble, but she's getting to that age where it would be really lovely for me to be around and to be more helpful when I can be, and for my husband as well to be there to help too. So it's a huge move, 22 years of packing up 22 years of life here and what a journey it's been. My goodness. I remember 22 years ago when I packed to come over to London, my family all made bets on how long I'd last. Like literally, like they all put money on it.
Wow. So who got 22 years?
None of them guessed over 6 months.
Wow.
I remember at the time, like they were like, "Oh yeah, she won't last." Yeah, mainly because I'm such a family-oriented person. And especially with my mum, I'm a real mummy's girl, so everyone thought that I wouldn't last. And to be fair, it was a bit bumpy at the beginning. I moved into student housing, international student housing, and they had me in a building that was really busy. I mean, of course, you remember because you were over there too.
Yeah.
But I was over at the Great Portland Street branch, which was the main branch of the student house where all the bar was and the restaurant, and they had a lot of it was a very noisy building, that one, wasn't it?
Oh, God. It was, I don't want to say horrendous because there were, really happy times there, but gosh, I couldn't have lived there, that's for sure.
Well, they moved me into that building, I think it was by mistake, because the other building that Adam and I were at was directly behind the Royal Academy of Music, where you and I both did our postgrad. And so I should have been living in that building, but for some reason they put me in the main building.
They put you in the noisy building because you're noisy. I think that's what it was. They went, Helena's going to be noisy. She better go in the noisy building.
Well, I didn't know at this stage, but it was probably a good guess.
Your reputation preceded you.
Yeah, exactly. The problem with the noisy building, though, was that, I couldn't cook or do anything. It didn't have a kitchen. It was much more short-term resident based and people who wanted to have a good time. And that's fine, but it just really wasn't for me. The first night I was woken up by the room next door. By 3 a.m. I knocked on their door and they invited me in to join their festivities. And I said, no, I want to sleep. I remember calling my mum because at that stage, I hadn't really set up a mobile and all that kind of thing. And like life is so much easier now, we think of technology and everything. But at the time I had to use the phone in my room to call my mum reverse charge. And she said, yes, I'll accept the charge. And I'll never forget it. Like years later, she said, Helena, do you know that call ended up costing me about $90? I was just like, oh, what have I done? Oh, I'm so miserable. British people hate me. No one wants to talk to me on the train.
And your mum was just doubling the bet at that point as well, going, oh, yeah, she's coming back soon. I'm going to make some money off this.
She was doubling down. Actually, she was the one that bet the longest, if I recall correctly. Everyone else thought I'd only last about a week.
Well, then she kind of wins, really. Then she gets closest to 22 years versus 6 months, but still closer than everyone else. We'll pay that.
And she wins because she got rid of me for 22 years. So that's also for the win. And even just like, I mean, I'm sure you were the same, like back in those days when we came over here and everything, it was so exciting and I was so excited. But even things like getting a bank account sorted when you were living in student accommodation and proof of address and all those things, all those like life things that nowadays seems to be a lot easier, I think.
I think I set up an international account. I think I set up an account with HSBC in Australia so that I could have a UK bank account. I think that was the only way I could make it happen easily. And then I ended up with NatWest or whoever it was over there.
HSBC were the only bank over here. I didn't have an account with them in Oz, but were the only bank over here that actually like took me seriously. And I ended up having to get documentation from the academy and from the student house, and I had to have travel money with me that I could, automatically put in the account. And consequently, because they were so great and every other bank was so crap, I've banked with them ever since, and my mortgage is with them too, So
there we go. And we've got a new sponsor. Hooray! No.
Sponsored by. But yeah, gosh, so such a long stint. But I always had it in my mind that I would be going home again. Obviously with the job that we do, we're global, and London was a great position, in the world for me to be in for work in the States and work in Europe and all that kind of stuff. And then to be able to come home, obviously, as well. I feel like I'm at the stage of my career, thank goodness, where, hopefully my reputation speaks for itself now and I don't need to be running around and singing for people so much and people know who I am now. So in a way, it's nice. We will definitely be aiming to create one international trip a year and hopefully a few little contracts with that as well. And then obviously I'll get to work more in Australia, which will be really nice. And I'm actually already pretty booked up for next year in Australia already, which is very exciting.
And am I right, your first gig back is in Adelaide, is that right?
That's right, for State Opera South Australia with the gorgeous Dane Lamb, who we met over here in England with Chelsea Opera Group, actually, in a concert performance of Norma that Dane conducted. And then we went on to work together several times since. So now he's invited me over to be the first lady in the Magic Flute, which is either the best thing he's ever done or the worst thing he's ever done. I'm sure he'll see soon. I don't know whether I'll behave very much as something like the first lady in the flute, but, we'll see how that rolls. And I'm also doing the Australian premiere of my bel canto recital over there, which is pretty much sold out, which is great.
Is that the same recital you did in San Francisco?
In Seattle.
Oh, my God. I get the S's wrong I think I've called it San Francisco every single time you and I have talked about it as well.
I think you have,
yeah.
Well, at least you're dedicated to that. Yeah, so the launch of that recital was in the States, and I've done it once here, and then this will be the Australian premiere of the recital. So I'm really excited for that because it's a repertoire that's all very close to my heart. And I'll also be doing some masterclass work with the young artists of the opera company too. So it's going to be a fantastic trip, but there's just so much to do, as everyone who's ever moved house or country or both, as you know, because you've done it.
Oh my God.
Packing up your life and coming home, or packing your life up and coming back after so long it's a big deal. And also I'll be packing up here, but then also going somewhere else to work and then going home. So it's a bit of a roundabout way to get there. But
and what have you packed so far that you have already regretted packing?
Nothing.
Oh, really? Oh, God. See, when I moved back, I packed so many things into boxes, ready for moving. And then, of course, I went, oh, no, I need that thing. And it was devastating. Yeah.
Oh, I've done that. Yeah, I packed one of my scores that I needed.
Oh, no.
I was so singing something. Oh, yeah, the Verdi Requiem. That's right. My scores were some of the first things that I'd packed off the bookshelf. I dismantled the bookshelf and I packed it all into big tubs. And I'd remembered all the operas because I had all those scores out, but I hadn't. Yeah, stupid.
I'm going to ask a silly question. Do you still use hard copy scores? You haven't gone digital?
I do.
Oh, I live on my iPad now. I use 4Score on the iPad and I love it. It's so good.
I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
I hate it because I'm not even sure that I can voice a reason that will sound anything acceptable. I don't like staring at a screen all day. And when I'm marking music and stuff, there's something about touching the paper and highlighting the score and writing my ornaments on them. I don't know what it is.
It might be the difference between you and I. I do almost exclusively concerts. So I've got rapidly changing repertoire. It's a huge list of different songs and different arias. And I mix and match them across shows across the year. If I had to work in a single score, yeah, maybe I'd want to have just a single bound copy of something. But I find something so appealing in having everything filed away and being able to find all of my music really quickly, really easily. Because, oh my God, I still have all the hard copies. I've got shelves and shelves here. And the days and weeks before concerts, the number of times that I've had to try to find a single sheet of paper somewhere across multiple bookshelves, it was always so frustrating. So, yeah, digitizing it all has been a huge game changer for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sensible. For my recital, I do have everything digital, which is what you're saying about all the different sheets coming together. That's definitely easier. But when I did the recital originally, I had the music in front of me, and there's something about having an iPad in front of me that upsets me. So I put it all in a folder. And
because you're too busy playing Candy Crush. That's what it is. Too distractible.
I just think it looks a bit wanky. I don't know why. But even when I see artists do it, there's something about it that upsets me a little bit.
Don't the artists put their score or put their iPad in a fancy folder?
No.
Oh, they should. You can get fancy folders. They look great.
Well, yes. I mean, maybe a cover or something. But I heard this horrendous story when I was doing a Messiah up in Ireland. I think it was Dublin. I think. Anyway, the manager of the orchestra told me that they've all gone to iPads, and then they had this horrendous concert where they all opened up their iPads, and the music, something from the cloud had gone wrong, and none of the music was there, and they hadn't downloaded them onto the systems, and none of them had the. I was like, right, nope, never doing it.
Yeah, that's a good reason right there, just to stick with the good old hard copy. That being said, you've had luggage lost before. It's just as easy for someone to fly internationally and then have their score sitting in a bag that goes missing. So, yeah, there are no...
Yeah. Well, that's why now I travel with my dress, like especially for recitals or concerts or things like that. The dress now comes with me because that was terrifying. And the music. So, and the corset, usually if there's a corset as well, I often get stopped at airport security and asked, what is that that's got so many like metal hooks and things in? Well, it's a corset.
So are you shipping the corset or are you flying with that when you come back to perform?
Oh, hell no, that's coming with me. No. The problem is, of course, as you can see, the listeners can't see, but at the moment I've got all my dresses hanging on all the doors just out and airing at the moment because most of my opera dresses are going to have to get shipped. But that terrifies me because there's a whole lot of thing about how you pack like ball gowns and evening gowns and someone said, oh, you vacuum pack them, and then someone else told me that actually if you vacuum pack them and they get a little bit of moisture in because of the shipping, then they go musty and it can damage the materials. And so actually today I have a video conference call with a potential shipping company who are going to move our stuff, and I'm going to ask them that actually because my concert gowns, I can't bring them all in my hand luggage because there's too many of them.
Get them a spare seat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, God, I wish I could. But I'll be traveling with the ones that I need for the recital in Adelaide, and then the rest of them will come separately across to Melbourne. So
yeah. Hey, coming back to Adelaide, who else is in your cast?
Oh, good question. It's quite a mixed cast. The production has actually already premiered. It's already been in China, and it's a part of a festival over there, I believe, as well. And so they had primarily a local cast, but I know that Dane went over to conduct that premiere. So I've actually seen some pictures of the production. It looks pretty wild.
Oh, that's right. I think you mentioned before you've got such an interesting costume. Is this right?
Yeah, where the three ladies are air hostesses. And I believe Papageno is an Uber Eats delivery driver gone.
I kind of dig that. I like that.
So he has the wings, but the wings come out of the Uber Eats box. So it's gonna be a funky production to be a part of. Yeah, so it's a collaboration between State Opera South Australia and Hong Kong Opera and the Beijing Music Festival. So it's going to be in three places. So this is the second place it's going to be. And the cast includes Nicholas Jones, who's an Aussie tenor. The Pamina is Sophia Troncoso, who's the wife of Dane Lamb, gorgeous soprano. And then we've got like some real epic casting because Papageno is David Greco and Sarastro is actually Teddy Tahu Rhodes. So it's quite
God, that is a heck of a cast. Amazing.
That's quite a lineup. I'm really looking forward to it. And I haven't sung Magic Flute or First Lady since, well, the Royal Academy of Music.
I was going to say, since the Royal Academy, yeah.
So with John Copley's production and Sir Colin Davis in the pit. Was it 2003 or 4 that we did that? I can't remember. So I'm really looking forward to revisiting First Lady. It's been fun to pick up the score again. After such epic bel canto stuff, it's actually quite nice. It's a bit of Mozart. It's nice and chilled.
So are we going to expect a regal First Lady, or are we going to see a mischievous First Lady? Have you already decided?
It depends on the director.
There we go. Oh, very deferential. We like that.
But I think the whole point of Dane casting me was for mischief. I definitely think that Dane cast me because when he asked me, he's like, "You wouldn't do this, would you?" And I said, oh, "Yeah, go on." I just wanted to pair it with my recital, and so it's good. It's gonna be great, and it's just hard to go with one case and think where do I see everything else again. But anyway, that's life.
And you can't announce anything else beyond the Magic Flute?
I can't until they do.
Oh, that's so frustrating. And in fact, I should say to listeners, I think twice already, you and I and guests have discussed the Magic Flute production, but because you hadn't been able to announce it at those times, I had to keep editing it out. So we talked about this repeatedly, and I had to keep editing out those references. Going, in fact, you contacted me and went. It was in our conversation with Sarah Playfair. I think you sent me a message going, I think I mentioned Magic Flute. I can't announce that yet. They haven't announced it. Can you delete that?
Exactly.
Oh God, the joys.
So yeah, there's quite a few things coming up for next year, including some stuff in Adelaide and a few of the different various symphony orchestras in Australia have hired me for various things as well. So it'll just be really lovely. Of course, the first international gig that came in the door for next year was at exactly the same time as something else, of course.
Always the way.
Always the way it goes. Yep. I was like, oh, damn it. But yeah, it'll all work out. That's part of the joy of it.
It's part of the juggle. I think I remember Sharon last week talking about how it took her 8 years to get her perfect lineup of events across a year, where she'd lined it all up perfectly with no gaps or just the right number of gaps so that she could learn the music and prepare. So hopefully it won't take you that long in the move back.
And also, Opera Australia, get your shit together, because Opera Australia still haven't hired me, and I've sung at some of the best opera houses in the world, and while the old management was in, there wouldn't have been a chance of hiring me because they were not fans of mine. But now, I was going to say now that new management are in, but there's kind of no management at home anymore, is there? It's all a bit up in the air at the moment. But whoever is making these decisions, can you get your shit together and put me on the stage? Because quite frankly, it's about time.
Or you could just do a stage invasion. Get up there in the middle of a show, start singing, pick a song, any song, and just start going.
Well, when Jo was here, I mean, she's left Opera Australia now. We'd actually discussed doing Turn of the Screw.
Yeah.
And then they ended up doing Tosca at the big arena in Melbourne instead. But originally we'd actually had that whole discussion. So it's definitely in the mix of things happening. But in a way, that Turn of the Screw would have been my debut, and I don't know. Jessel's great and fantastic, but I don't know. I want to do something a bit more prima donna-ish for my opera house debut.
Okay, so again, just going back to Sharon's episode, if you can manifest this, if you can use your positive mindset, what is it? Put it out in the universe right now. What's the dream role you want to come back and perform? It
would have to be either Queen Elizabeth in Roberto Devereux, which is, I think, my favourite role.
But you've sung that in Melbourne already, haven't you?
I have, but I sing it much better now. And also Norma. I mean, they're two operas that I've done at home, but not in the Opera House. It'd be nice to do those in the Opera House.
Great. Well, we're putting it out there. We are putting it out there.
Thank you, world, universe. Yeah,
for the universe to manifest, but also just putting it out directly to anyone listening from Opera Australia, really.
Yeah. Get shit together. Call me.
Great. So this is probably a good moment to announce as well that we're coming to the end of season 1 of High Notes and Anecdotes. It's been lots of fun. We've still got a couple more episodes after this to go. We've got the fabulous Adrian Tamburini, and then we're finishing with a quite chaotic finale with three tenors, and I don't know why we thought this was a good idea. We've pre-recorded this already, and I'm still reeling from that episode, I have to say. I have no idea how much of it is going to make it to air. I think we recorded for well over 2 hours.
I'm glad it's you editing it and not me, because I want to put everything in, especially the rude bits. But yeah, we're coming to the last couple of episodes of season 1, which is so exciting. Actually, my husband opened the podcast link the other day, and he's like, "You've done a lot of these." I was like, "Yeah, I know, right?"
Yeah, this will be episode 22 that I think we're recording as we speak, and we're going to finish, I think, with 24 episodes for season 1, and then we should probably announce as well, just so everybody knows, we'll be back for a season 2. The idea is we'll be back in September. We've already got a recording schedule lined up, so So we'll be ready to drop those episodes.
Unless the final episode gets us banned.
No, the plan is not to get banned, and we'll be back in September.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it'll be lovely. And then I'll be on location back in your time zone.
This is it. Oh my God. Listeners, you won't realize the complication, the number of messages and calls that Helena and I have to coordinate our schedules between the UK and Australia. And it gets exponentially harder when we add other countries into the mix. So if we're chatting to Jamie Barton in the US, or we've had Germany, Spain, Japan. No, Japan, O'Connor was back from Japan by then, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
We were going to record in Japan and we couldn't make that happen because the Shinkansen had let him down.
Yeah. It's been a fantastic season 1, and so many interesting stories, and like a real learning curve for me as well. You know, this is the first time, obviously, I've done anything like this, and just having such different big personalities on the podcast and talking to them about how they've found themselves in this industry and all the stories and laughter and tears and tribulations along the way. It's been a really fascinating series of podcasts, I think. Well, I'm biased, obviously, because we host it, but I have to say, you know, some of them, you know, far more informative, some of them a lot more chatty, some of them just like getting to know people that, you know, that I've heard about who are fantastic icons of our industry, and getting to chat to them and stuff. It's been a real plethora of people and stories and tales, and I think it's just so lovely, and we hope that people all around the globe have also enjoyed listening in. Both of us have received interesting feedback, haven't we, along the way? And it was just last week I showed you someone made us into a meme.
Into a meme. I've always wanted to be a meme, so I was childishly excited about the podcast being turned into a meme. It was pure joy, I have to say.
Exactly.
So thank you to our listener for that.
Yeah, thank you, Robbie. That was lovely of you to pass that on. It's really interesting too, Adam, you know, all the feedback I'm sure that you've gotten as well, because we have such a variety of people listening. You know, obviously the first kind of crowd that have tuned into this are people who are in the arts or people who have an interest in the arts, but also friends or family or, you know, other connections outside of that too. In fact, just recently on X, someone came to watch Straniera based on the fact that they had seen the podcast forwarded to them by somebody else, and they found the podcast so interesting that they thought they'd like to hear how I sang.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, they'd only ever heard the podcast, and they were huge opera fans, and they said that, they were so enamored by everything in the podcast. They thought, oh, let's go and see if she can actually sing as well. So it's like a backwards way of coming to.
Did you get feedback on that though? Did they come back and say, oh, actually, you know what? We like the podcast better than the singing.
Crap. Yeah. Yeah. God, that's the day I've got to stop, isn't it, really? And I met an ex-colleague of mine on the weekend and her son, and I asked them about, because they both are avid listeners of the podcast in Korea, actually. And I said to them, what do you like? And they said, oh, well, you know, we're not super musical or anything, so we love like when you guys talk about food and travel and all the rest of it. So, you know, hopefully we've managed to land ourselves in the middle of not being too technical or too industry based, but also, you know, just that normal life as well, and life on the road and stories and tips and things as well.
And look, during the hiatus, we welcome any feedback from people. Let us know what you want to hear for season 2 as well, because we'll be in that planning stage across those couple of months. So yeah, let us know what you want to hear across season 2, and then hopefully season 3, and God forbid, season 4. Let's see how that goes. Unless
you want to hear new hosts, in which case we don't want to hear from you. Okay, just putting it out there.
We like the idea. We hate the hosts.
Exactly.
On that hopeful and joyful note, gosh, we might wrap it up. I know you are insanely busy at the moment. You've got a million things going on, getting ready to come back to Oz, and just lots of preparation there, and just lots of life stuff going on. So I'm going to let you go, and all of our listeners, you're going to hear us back next week with the fabulous Adrian Tamburini. So tune in for that as well. And in the meantime, goodbye.
Bye.